I mean, Chizzy is the powerhouse in this league. He is literally the Max Verstappen of this league. You know,
Yeah.
absolutely just walking away with it, and finding that pace that no one's able to find as it stands at the moment. And this for Kieran is at the end of the season when all the points come in, it's going to feel like a DNF. Obviously, no points gained from this session at all.
Hmm.
Um, so it could play really crucial towards the end of the season. But I think this is going to benefit obviously everyone else on track. But this is going to hurt Kieran's chances of who knows, maybe even a kind of like podium finish at the end of the season in terms of points. But we'll see what happens. It depends if Rye and Shadow can take full advantage of it. Because if this is inconsistent, like you say, throughout the season, there's
Hmm.
plenty of opportunities coming.
Well, the other thing as well is just it also depends on, we talk about how, consistent Chizzy is. Every racer can have a bad night as well. It only takes one bad turn, it only takes one bad exit, it only takes one bad start to the race where everyone's kind of bumping and grinding on each other, and then before you know it, you lost your wing, you got a pit, and you're fighting against the elements. So that there is that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely that, especially at a circuit, like this, where we've got the closed-in walls, just like we have seen in the first couple of races as well, where people are having these slight incidents, whether it's into a braking zone, into a corner, or tapping a wall, or even just a slight off track, and that's made the back end kick out. It's those little things, and again, it kind of bounces onto your point about is this more like an endurance thing? Is this going to affect the drivers? Yes, I think it will, because that lapse of concentration could potentially ruin a night, just like you say. And now with, as we can see on screens at the minute, the rain coming into play as well.
Is that surprising for you, rain in Miami, or is that kind of quite common? You don't really associate Miami with rain, do you?
You don't associate it with rain, no. However, I would say it's not fairly common, but it happens. I think is the easiest way to put it.
Hmm.
Especially in Formula One, it seems to be wherever Formula One goes, the bad weather seems to always either follow or is just in behind, kind
Yeah.
of thing. Because you see it in places like Brazil, for example, where you'd never really picture like out and out rain at Brazil, but their circuit, when it rains, it pours there. It's horrendous, and it's quite often as well that you go there and it's a wet surface. So I think that's just one of these, but who knows whether it carries on into the race.
Well, okay. For now, of course, people just joining us that are maybe not fully versed into F1, a 10-lap sprint. So, in a couple of sentences for us, Sergio, for the absolute F1 amateur, someone that's never really kind of taken too much attention to or paid too much attention to F1, what is a sprint and what are the drivers competing for here in these 10 laps?
So the sprint race is a lot shorter than the actual Grand Prix. It's basically a 10 lap shootout in Miami, for example. Other tracks may differ in laps, but yeah, it's a shorter race designed more just for a quick impacting hit on the points. The points are pretty much half though. Um, so the maximum points isn't 25 like in a normal Grand Prix. So they're fighting for a little less in terms of total quantity of points, but that will add up, if you get two good finishes over the course of the night. But yeah, there's points in this race, only about half the amount, but then you get full points in full Grand Prix, and they both add up to get your total at the end of the night, which gets added to your season tally.
There you go. Well, of course, the points may well be quote unquote minuscule in the sprint, but every point counts, especially in a 10-week season. Again, the breaking news with this one is that tonight Vero Kieran, for the sprint at least, not here, which therefore means that Chizzy tonight in the Red Bull that we're watching here race against Tiller could well have an opportunity to go even further clear in the Drivers' Championship. And as well, some great new faces tonight. Again, the opportunity for those reserve drivers, Sergio, to kind of seize their opportunity, if you will. Guys like, for example, Bailey coming in tonight. It's going to be a very tricky grid for him to kind of, find his way into. There's some great drivers. He's, again, what might be saying, this a bit of an amateur driver. So tonight he's going to have to find his way here. He's have to sink or swim, and you'd hope it will be swimming rather than sinking, because you don't want to see anyone kind of implode and crash here after what's been such a great and I think clean 2 weeks of racing so far.
Yeah, 100%. This the quality has been really good. And like I say, like you said, sorry, I think Bailey may struggle to start off to get into it, but it's like we saw. I can't remember the name of the person, but we saw someone. It might have even been week one, where it was their first time actually racing, and they sort of found their feet as the race went on. And this is a prime chance for Bailey, for example, because you can get used to it in the sprint race, and then in the actual Grand Prix, that's when you go for it, kind of thing. You find your feet, you know what I mean? So as you get
Yeah.
more comfortable, then you can start pushing, especially with the rain in play as well. Don't know Bailey's ability, but
Whoa,
I'm
Till-
not
I
too
don't
fond
know.
of the rain.
I tell you this much here, Tiller's slipping and sliding around the track there. That was a little bit of a poor exit from Tiller, who we always kind of attribute with such a brilliant driver, but connected with the wall there. Don't think he suffered any damage, but yeah, let's be wary of that. Well, again, talk to us then about Miami. We can talk about it a little bit more in depth when we go to the actual quality of the race, of the real race tonight. But in regards to Miami, you know, in the rain, does that change how difficult Miami is, or is Miami, whether it's sunny, rainy, windy, snowy, always going to be a tricky track? It's back on a street track, isn't it? So, you know, it's one of those.
Yeah, and it's one of those where it doesn't see rain often, but when it does, it's very greasy. As a lot of people know, if you've ever been on holiday abroad, say Spain, Greece, Italy, places like that, when they get rain on their roads are deadly because they don't always see rain. So the compound that's actually down is slightly different to stuff that is used in the UK, which does cause a little bit extra slip. But that's because they don't see that kind of weather often. Miami, for example, is one of those. Obviously, it's a street circuit. It was built around the Hard Rock Stadium, which is a stadium purposely built to have this around it as well. This was all part of the initial plan in 2022. We have 19 corners in total, all varying different angles. You do have some sharper turns, as Tiller and Shizzy are now going into. We do have some tight chicanes, a couple of decent areas in terms of some DRS action, and some long sweeping corners as well. Turns 1, 11 and 17 have large braking zones, which are prime opportunity for diving down the inside of your opponent. So that is something we have seen quite a lot this season already. And I think we'll see a lot more of it again today. Maybe not in the sprint race so much, because people are going to be more tiptoeing around, is the term we tend to use. But then, say it is dry in the actual Grand Prix, then yeah, I think we may see maybe not some dive bombs, but certainly going to see some people shooting down the inside line.
I think definitely as well, when you were saying that there, and just kind of, you know, watching Tiller take those kind of tight chicanes and those tight entry points, you can definitely see what you're talking about the greasiness of the surface here. The way that Tiller is really, I would say it's a fair word to use, struggling to kind of keep the car balanced. I mean, if he's having that problem tonight with how good he is, I mean, you have to feel for some of these other drivers, you know, lower down the grid, because I think if the rain persists, and we're going to see it through quali, we're going to see it, of course, filter over into the actual main stage race tonight, I think we could be on for a couple of broken wings here and there, because people are going to be slipping and sliding all over the place, and that's not what you want to hear. I think already you had Griminus and Frost Tactics say, well, I'm going to be exploding tonight. You can already feel the anxiety from some of those kind of lower end drivers, no disrespect to them, with how tricky this one could end up being. Is there any advice then from your side of things, Sergio? You know, someone that knows this track well, knows about, you know, the harsh conditions of Miami in the rain. You know, for a driver that's going to be aiming to get into the points tonight, not for the big ones like your Chizzies and your Tillers and your Jamsies, but maybe for someone like, you know, your I don't know, your Baileys or your Lucases or your HDinos, you know, people that want to get into the top 10. What is the kind of key bit of advice for them during not only this sprint tonight, but also in that main race?
The main thing is to keep the car under control, and the easiest way to do that is into braking zones. You keep the car in a straight line. You don't brake while turning, because that increases that decreases the stability of the car, so it's a lot easier to just spin the thing out. And again, when you're putting power on, when you're going through a corner, you also want to ease that in. You don't want to just slam on the accelerator. So the best thing that I always tend to go for is, once I know I'm about 50% through a corner, I will then start to feed the accelerator in nice and slowly, and by doing that, you keep the car a lot more stable, and the power is even as it's being applied as well, rather than just all or nothing, which easily sends the car around. So that'd be the keys for that. And one of the key things as well for racers is that's probably one of the deadliest things on every single circuit in the world is white paint. So the white lines you see on the edge of all circuits, that is the most deadly part of every single circuit, because the moment you get on that with your tyres, you lose all grip. It is basically like ice once wet.
Okay.
Because paint and tyre just, it doesn't go together at all. So if you get your tyres on the white lines, it's okay in a straight line because you can control it, but the moment you start turning and try and do multiple things at once on that white line, unless you've got some kind of, for example, in this F1 game, some kind of stability help or anything along those lines, you're probably going to spin out 9 times out of 10. That sort of help with the stability may well help some of these drivers, but again, it depends what they have on their end. The main thing is, though, is to keep off the white lines as much as possible, and the curbs. That's the one thing that drivers are always told is white lines and curbs. You just got to stay away from them in the wet. In the dry, not a problem, but when it's wet / greasy, you keep well off.
And there you go then. So that's the aim tonight. If it is going to continue to bring it down here, if the gods continue to remain open and descend upon us, then avoid those wide areas, avoid those white lines for all intensive purposes. I mean, so far for you, 6 laps into the sprint, it's been a bit of a relaxing one. It's been like an extension of quali. It's like a serious version of quali, but points are on the line. I mean, who's impressing you so far? The Kick Sauber, 4th and 5th?
Yeah, Kick Sauber's doing very, very well. They're looking quite confident. I've not seen any horrendous slip outs from either driver, and they're pretty consistent in terms of their lap times as well, matching each other in terms of pace. So looking like a good position at the minute for both these drivers. And again, Kick Sauber, in terms of points, only on 2 in total for the team. Both of them points come from Gwyneth, so it'll be good to get these two both in the points in the sprint, and not only sprint, but maybe even the full-on Grand Prix as well. And bear in mind, at the minute, this is actually the wrong way round. Ryan has been finishing behind Gwyneth. Nevertheless, things may change in the rain. This might be Ryan's sort of go-to. So yeah, we'll just see how it unfolds. They got a bit of time to the Aston Martin, but I'm sure they're not too fussed because they can use a bit of teamwork if they need to defend from the Mercedes in behind.
And there you go. I mean, for now, listen, 7 laps in, and the $1 million question continues to be rung out, Sergio, is who is going to be able to, outdo Chizzy, who's going to be able to outpace Chizzy. And for Tiller so far, listen, only the sprint, granted, but you want to be able to beat him in every single circumstance. I think, you've got to look at, even a qualifier, even the sprint qualifier, you've got to really gain the respect to someone like Chizzy in the Red Bull. I think someone like Tiller, Jamsey, these guys, they need to be pushing Chizzy and making him think constantly, even in quali, because, like you said, right now, you saw that Drivers' Championship before we kicked off this sprint. You saw what the team constructors looked like, Ferrari looking good, Chizzy looking good. You can't afford Chizzy to get 3, 4, 5, 6, race week wins in a row, because at that point then it just becomes a whitewash. So, the one question for Tiller is, what are you going to be able to do differently in the main race that Chizzy isn't ready for here? Because right now, I think this is the thing with a sprint as well. Yes, there's the benefit of points. Yes, there's the benefit of being able to kind of improve your position in the standings, but in that kind of higher echelon of the standings, Chizzy is going to see here already within 7 laps how Tiller is going to approach this race. He's seeing Tiller's pace, he's seeing exactly what Tiller is about to bring to the table. Do you often see in other leagues or in other experiences that you've had, Sergio, that people almost kind of, use the sprint as a Trojan horse? Maybe they perform a little bit worse in the sprint, get the guard down of the the pack leader, and then in the main race, boom, they come out, the race is firing? Or is this kind of an unwritten thing? You can't really play possum in a sprint. You have to go all out in a sprint.
Yeah, no, I've seen people use the sprint before to not only obviously monitor what they're doing themselves, but the people in and around them as well, the ones that they're fighting in championships. I've seen that a lot before, and not everyone goes all out for the sprint because obviously there's less points up for grabs. If they're not as desperate for the small amount of points, then they might keep some of their cars closer to their chest, maybe hide a few secrets, or maybe even just change the driving style just for that section of few laps. And then when it comes to the Grand Prix, actually then put the hammer down and go for it. Each person has their different way of doing things and different tactics. But I think we're going to see quite a strong outing here from the Kick Sauber all night, to be fair.
Yeah.
And in the Grand Prix and the normal qualifier. They've got to defend against this Mercedes that's now come up behind them. But yeah, I think they're going to be strong throughout tonight because even in these conditions, which I would say are fairly harsh, the rain isn't relentless. It's coming down quite a lot, but there's definitely been worse. And I think, yeah, these guys are just going to improve the better the conditions get. So hopefully for them, the sun comes out and they can unleash their full pace and potentially even try and climb the table. But probably the biggest thing at the minute in the final laps of this sprint race is the fact that Shadow Gunner ended up leaving the session a couple laps ago and has only just returned and in P9. So that'll hurt his championship points at the moment. Again, Ryan might be hurting as well because Tiller's in P2, so Tiller might actually be leapfrogging Shadow in the standings just from the sprint, or at least matching him, so then it comes level-headed when it comes to the actual Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's all moving, all the pieces on the board at the minute. But for now, listen, the sprint pretty much at its conclusion, which therefore means that normal quali will begin imminently, and we can get a little bit more in depth on our drivers and our racers tonight. But again, the one thing that was consistent, as we'd expect, is that Chizzy is leading the way once again. He's a serial winner, multiple driver championships under his belt across the years, and wants to add another one this season. So only race week 3 of our 10-week season, and it's very much been a productive couple of weeks so far. So Kick Sauber having a good one. The Mercedes as well, Benchwarmer and Hippo 6th and 8th place, having a good one as well. And again, the Ferrari in the points as well, 2nd and 9th as things stand. One thing as well, to weigh in is, maybe you have to look at someone like Blazer Guns tonight being a little bit off the boil. You won't know this, but again, I do, because again, he plays the Man League with us, so kind of like we're up to date with his Forza escapades. But I think a couple of days ago, he has another kind of 24-hour endurance race. Maybe he's not going to be completely fresh-eyed here. Maybe he's going to be a little bit slower due to just being maybe a little bit fatigued and still not getting the full amount of sleep that he should. So down there in 12th at the minute. Is that a realistic excuse we can give him if he has a bad one tonight? Can we say, he's tired from the 24-hour endurance race, Sergio? Are we giving too many free passes out here?
No, I have to admit, I'm gonna side with that because I would be feeling the same probably. If he has come into today feeling tired, then
Mate,
I can't say anything bad because I'd be the same.
My eyes would be melting out of my head if I had to do a 24-hour endurance race. Yeah. Like, in my heyday, back in fucking black and white television in 1915, right, when I was a young man, right, when I could do 36 hours awake, no sleep, just on fucking Monster Energies, I'd be absolutely wired. I couldn't imagine, right, doing an all-nighter is one thing. Doing a 24-hour endurance race, doing an all-nighter where you literally have to focus and race and be so precise in what racing, requires, my brain would be turned into a pink sauce. I wouldn't be able to do it. Just way too much for me going on there. Way too much.
Yeah, no, it is a lot to take in, and especially if you're doing rotated sleeps as well, where you can only nap for a certain amount of time. Trying to wake back up for that time, and then within the space of like 10 minutes be race ready mentally to go out there and just start attacking people and actually drive them to perfection. That's such a hard switch to flick on, but he may have had a little bit of rest since then, but it might not be enough. And like you said, tonight's going to be a long night, so all of that added up, I think Blazer, might well struggle, to be fair.
Well, listen, the sprint here coming towards an end, or coming to an end. Chizzy, of course, taking first place, Tiller, and R. Jamsey into the podium. Ryan Parker and Sir Quinniff there in 4th and 5th. A great finish there, to say that. Wow, 22nd time penalty for ignoring the yellow flag from Surtees. So that's something. so he's going to drop all the way to the very bottom here. But yeah, I think a decent sprint, and I don't know. Does the rain look like it's letting up to you, or does it look like it's kind of remaining consistent? It's only spitting now, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't look as bad as what it was at the start, but then again, you don't really know. I mean, looking at the sky just from the camera I've got at the moment, it's cloud everywhere. So as it stands, if that weather carries on going through as it is and doesn't skip at all, then yeah, we could be in for rain for possibly all of tonight.
And there you go. Well, listen, there's the points on the board in the end from the sprint. Chizzy, Tiller, Jamsey, Ryan Parker, Quinniff, Benchwarmer, Shadows Gunner, and Cons all taking points in the sprint. But that's only the appetizer, because now main quali and the main race about to get underway. So strap in. Like we said, it's going to be one of those longer nights tonight in Miami. But I think the ultimate question is here, how long does this rain continue to fall? Bailey saying, first racing forever since I left my last league. No setup. Absolutely horrendous. Well, the good news is it's not all bad, Bailey, because that's only the sprint. So you've still got time to tinker and change things. Like, yeah, the cloudy around area of the race world. And, I mean, there you go. We've got bright skies and sunny weather now in the quali. So it looks like we're going to have a clean bit of weather for the actual race here. How much difference in terms of timings are we talking about? When we talk about Miami in the rain, Sergio, compared to Miami in the sunshine, I mean, should we be seeing, I don't know, a lot more tight control on those kind of tight chicanes, or does it really not make a difference because the chicanes and the roads are so tight and narrow that you have to remain focused and you can't really kind of take many shortcuts in this one? How do you view the weather change then in this? Does that make a big difference to you?
Yeah, massive difference. Obviously, like I said about the white lines, the painted lines, and the rumble strips, so all the curbs, you can hit every single one of them now. They're going to be dry. If the session's starting off dry, there's not going to be any liquid on those, just because of how the F1 is set up. So you can now basically go full attack mode. So you don't have to hold back. You don't have to tiptoe around any sort of area of the track. So yeah, I think we're going to see definitely some improvement on times. I imagine we're probably looking at the 127s if I was to guess.
Okay.
But yeah, these guys won't have to hold anything back now. We're going to be going for dry tires. I'm seeing some soft tires come out the garages at the minute, and yeah, these guys are probably just going to go all for it now.
Well, Surtees, of course, you don't know about Surtees and his intermediates. You do now. So he's a big troll, is Surtees, in a good way. You know, Surtees will sometimes kind of say to the drivers in the lounge, and say, "Hey, lads, watch this," and he'll come out on intermediates, he'll come out on wets to do his quali, and then he'll turn up in the actual race. But there you go, he's out in his intermediates, and that's just good old Surtees in our eyes. I think, you know, for Jamsey, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Just finished inside the top 3 of the sprint, but, you know, he has been involved in a couple of incidents the last few weeks. You know, he's getting that kind of reputation, maybe, isn't he, for being a bit of a loose cannon on the grid. Do you think tonight he has to have a clean race? Is that more important than anything? Does he just need to have a clean race? Because again, the reminder for people, after Abu Dhabi, I can tell you, he got another 10-second time penalty there, did Jamsey. So that's, you know, 2 races in a row, because I think he got one in week 1 in Baku. So 2 races in a row, 2 10-second penalties in a row. And I think you can recall that incident last week, because I think you flagged it up to me, didn't you? And you said, oh, that's in my eyes got to be a penalty for Jamsey. So you weren't surprised. I wasn't surprised. You know, is it a 3 strikes and you're out tonight for him? Or do you have faith that, you know, he can complete a race in a clean manner?
Yeah. I reckon you can get a race done without having any contact or issues, but this may not be the track for it. Just because of how tight it is. Obviously, we're at street circuit. We've got that tight walls that I was speaking about on week 1 and the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It's very similar to that. There are tight sections in this track, especially those last chicanes as you come into the final straight. So yeah, I think it's going to be tight, especially in that area. That's between turn 11 and 16, just before the DRS detection zone. On the back straight, which is where Ryan is at the moment on circuit. So that part is going to be the hardest area of the track, I think, for those people that are wanting to stay clear of contact. The first couple of laps are going to be absolute hell because you're going to have so many cars all close together in that small area of track, and you have to get your lines spot on as well, because if you bounce wrong over the curb, you'll spin out, and if you don't go the correct line, you're going into a wall. So you've got to be very precise, and if you're trying to go side by side there, well, that's spelling death for both cars, unfortunately. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of mindset some drivers have, whether they're going to try and win it on the first lap, because let's be honest, we told people not to do that. No one listens, because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, they're racing drivers. They're going to go balls to the walls from the minute lights go green. And I completely understand it, completely agree with it as well. I get it. So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how people are going to do in terms of going through that sort of last section there of the circuit, because that's where the most contact will be tonight.
There you have it. Well, listen, I don't know if HDino's, I don't know, maybe slammed into the wall there if he's retired in the pits, but for now, HDino's saying, you know, quali, not for me. I mean, is it one of those tonight because of the tightness of the track itself, the the street circuit nature of the track? Is there a benefit to starting at the back, would you say, Sergio, or not so much?
Yeah, there might well be. Just based on what we were talking about a second ago, the carnage, the chaos in lap 1, 2, and 3. Yes, that probably is quite a good tactic. There's going to be no DRS for the first couple of laps, because obviously that doesn't get initiated instantly. So you're not going to fall back drastic amounts just by sticking a bit more passive in terms of your pace. So you probably could get away with that kind of thing, especially here at this circuit. Cars are going to pile up, and that's going to slow everyone down. The only person that won't slow down is your leader. So, yeah, I think it could be a tactic that may pay off. It may not get you the exact position you want if that's in the top 3, but you never know. We could have a safety car. We could have a crash, a big crash. It could take up 5 cars. You don't know.
That's exactly where I wanted to kind of, pivot onto next. We talked to you, about the reputation of a death match that Baku has in VFL, and then we talked about last week how it was a penalty type track. What is your kind of prediction on the over under of safety cars here tonight? Then, if you talk about chaos, you talk about tight chicanes and this track in general, do you expect there to be a few here tonight, or do you have faith in our drivers?
I have full faith in the drivers. We've had some very clean races so far. I think we've only had the need of one safety car, if I'm not mistaken, and that was it. So I've got full faith. I believe that these guys will be able to pull it off. In terms of F1 in general, so going to the stats page, obviously in the real F1, safety car probability and the virtual safety car probability, both at the same at this circuit, 67%.
Okay.
So it's high, and because some of these guys are obviously going to be on controller rather than a wheel, the steering axis is a lot smaller, which means all the inputs you do are a lot sharper and are more dangerous as well, because it's a little more unpredictable because of how quick the analog stick moves compared to a wheel where you have to do a full turn. So, yeah, I think there is a chance of loads of chaos, but I think, again, it's going to be those first couple of laps. And if we get through that fairly clean, I think the rest of the race will go smoothly.
I think you're spot on. I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's always I like to say the first 5 laps, maybe the first 10 if you really want to be picky. That's the tone setter. You can really often, rather than not, get an indication of how dirty, clean, tight, compact the race is going to be. And I think, again, that could very well become a factor here tonight. I've also gained just there a 20th driver, reserve driver there coming in, Momo, aka CWL. I think he was a resident driver back in the day in GP2, so he's coming in here today. Another one that may well have has potentially stuck his hand up prematurely. I mean, I love seeing a full grid of 20. It's absolutely brilliant, but again, it's this incredibly stacked grid of talent on this incredibly difficult track with these tight chicanes and these tight turns. I don't know, man. I've got a bad feeling tonight. I hope that we see Bailey and Momo when these guys do well, but like I said to you before, I feel like in VFL these kind of narrow and difficult to overtake, circuits are just so, they're so unforgiving unless you're at that kind of higher end of the skill level bracket. And I don't know, I got a little bit of a feeling tonight that percentage, that 66% of a safety car could very well be living up to its full decree tonight, because yeah, I don't know. The tightness, it scares me. It worries me. It does. Quickly going back, though, to the times at the top here. Sub 10 minutes to go. I mean, impressed by the times so far, Sergio. A 1:26.7 from Shadow's Gunner so far, leading the way, with a 1:26.8 from Craig. So 2 drivers you wouldn't expect to be up there. But, of course, Chizzy's still in the pits waiting. He usually leaves it to the last couple of minutes to put his best lap out there. But, yeah, a couple of 1:26s. You impressed with that so far?
Yeah, certainly am. I projected a 1:27 roughly, which is about spot on, looking at sort of mid to high table. But yeah, 1:26 is a great time, especially Tiller's 1:26.1 as well,
Oh,
a very
yeah.
low 1:26.
Wow, okay.
So yeah, a very, very good lap there. That is definitely going to be the bar for Chizzy to try and come out and smash. Whether that's going to happen or not, who knows? But this is quite a good tactic, in my opinion, for Chizzy, which is sit in the pits and watch other people, because obviously in the F1 game you can sit there and you can obviously see other people's on board, so you could just sit there and watch their racing lines and see what they're doing differently to what you are, and maybe pick up a couple of points that might actually help you and make you even quicker than what you already are, because that's something that me and a few of the other people I've raced with, we all do. It's very, very useful, especially if you just pick one of the quickest drivers, for example, Tiller, and you just sit with them for their laps and just see what they're doing differently to you, and yeah, just try and implement that in your game to just improve and go beyond.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this much, though. I mean, you're so bang on. I mean, for Tiller, 1:26.1, as we were just speaking, that gets set. I mean, it could be a great night for the Ferrari. I'll look at Ryan Parker, by the way, joining the conversation. A 1:26.456 they're just being set. But it could be a really, really good night for the Ferrari. I mean, Tiller looking decent. Shadow's Gunner was looking decent in the sprint before that disconnect. And I talk about the 2 Ferraris having a 1:26.1 and a 1:26.7. So, yeah, I think there's expectation tonight on the Ferrari. I think the Ferrari have got to get into the podium. I think Tiller will do, but I think there's got to be an expectation on Shadow's Gunner to either maybe make the podium as well, or potentially crack, just outside of it, around 4th position. Higher you finish, of course, the more it benefits your team, or more it benefits Ferrari, but not going to be easy with some of the talent there as well. Blazer Guns, so far, with the man that we said is probably going to be feeling it the most after that 24-hour endurance race. So far, 7th position in quali for 1:27.4. Just have a look at these times as well. You've got 0.2 of a second between 6th and 7th. You've got barely any time between the 2 Alpines in 7th and 8th. The great team, by the way, is Blazer Guns and Lucas. If that's the confirmed actual, duo there, that's a really great combination, absolutely. But yeah, for right now, I'm excited. I'm excited going into this last 5 minutes to see exactly what Chizzy is going to pull out here, and he is out on the grid. He will be taking it nice and leisurely for this brief moment. But do you think he can? Do you think he can smash a 1:25? Do you think that's possible?
1:25.9 is what I'm thinking he might do. I looked at the times for the sprint qualifying there, which was in the wet, and he was 0.3 quicker. So I reckon here it might be a little tighter, so that's why I'm going to go about 0.2 quicker, which is, yeah, about 1:25.9.
That'll be something. I mean, it would be the ultimate nuts on the table move from Chizzy to kind of go out there and just set something so ridiculous and then go back into the pits and be like, all right, back to you. See if you can top that one. But again, 5 minutes to go before quali is over. And we do not have to wait too long to see as we're kind of with Chizzy there for the time being. Again, a quick reminder, people listening, we're going to say this a couple of times, so don't worry if you kind of missed this one warning already. But when we get into the garage before the race after this quali here, do not ready up do your setups, and just wait for Michael to give you the notification, the ping, to advance out onto the track. So again, once this finishes, once this qualifying period ends, do not ready up, do your adjustments, do your setups, and just wait for the notice to head on out. But yeah, I mean, it's that same point in time where every week I kind of sit there and ask you, Sergio, the three spotlights I'll give you. Number one, who's going to be our winner today? Are you sticking with 3 wins in a row for Chizzy? Number 2, who's going to be our underdog, our surprise package tonight? Someone that you think maybe, before the race you wouldn't think would finish as high, but is going to finish as high. And number 3, who do you think there's a lot of pressure on tonight? Is it Tiller with no Kieran? Is it Chizzy to go 3 in a row with no Kieran? Or is it maybe someone like a Craigar to keep up the lofty expectations and standards we expect from him? So over to you. Give us your 3 spotlights.
So I do think that the person to look out for in terms of the race win, I'm actually gonna back Tiller this race. Definitely been up there, and this could be Tiller's time to shine. Definitely with a good lap time like that as well. Solid lap time, 0.3 quicker than his opponent there in Peter of Ryan. And I think the underdog actually is Ryan, because going into tonight, I would not have said a Kicksauber driver will be anywhere near a top 3 finish. Bearing in mind their team's on 2 points, and Gwyneth has both of those points, currently sitting in P11 as well. So for the fact Ryan's up there already as well, he's just incredible, and what they did in sprint was fantastic. So yeah, I think underdog for this race, even though they're already overperforming, and it doesn't seem like an underdog thing, Ryan is definitely going to be the underdog for me. What was the last one? Sorry.
The pressure position. Who is under the most pressure to have a good race for you, in your opinion, tonight?
I think, if I'm honest, it's probably going to be CWL, because they're taking over Kieran. They're in the Williams car.
Valid.
Williams are P2 in constructors right now. 44 points to Ferrari's 36. They're chasing the leaders, who are 7 points clear. And, Kieran's up there in terms of the Constructors' Championship. Obviously, he doesn't need to worry too much about that. It's mainly the team side of things he needs to worry about. So, I think the most pressure is probably going to be on CWL, because he's also got Lisp with him, which is not a small name. It's not a name that you kind of look at and think, whatever, who cares? Yeah. No one cares about them. It's a name that stands out. It's a name that obviously everyone knows. So you kind of want to do well for your teammate as well. And I mean, CWL isn't that far off the pace. 129.2, not too bad. Probably will find time as the race goes on, especially with tyre degradation as well as the race goes on. But yeah, I think the most pressure is probably going to be on that Williams driver to try and pull something out of the bag for his team, to even just a damage limitation just for Kieran not being there.
There you go. Well, that's the 3 spotlights, of course, from Sergio. I'll give you mine quickly with less explanation, because again, my thing is just more based on, I don't know, what I see, what I think. I'm very kind of direct in that. So I'm going to race winner tonight. I think Chizzy gets it done again. I think he's the greatest of all time. I think apart from Louis Welch a couple of seasons back, no one's had his number. I don't think anyone will continue to have his number. I think I've always said it before. The biggest opponent to Chizzy is VRL Kieran, and the reality is VRL Kieran beats himself more than he beats Chizzy. So yeah, I think Chizzy will just do it. I think Tiller does come behind him though. I think you're right on that. I think in terms of driver tonight that I'm kind of putting on the underdog status, the person that I think will surprise us, shock us. I'm gonna go with Dirty Hippo. I think I'm gonna go with the German, a 126.7 in quali. Yes, we've talked about people being quali merchants before, but I like the German. I think the German is consistent. I think he's always kind of up there, and he's always kind of in that, that bracket of being someone that can surprise us. So I think he will surprise us today. I think Dirty Hippo gets a top 5 finish today. That's what I'm going to go with. I think pressure, person that's got the most pressure on them today, in a positive or negative sense, I think it's got to be Jamsey for me. 2 races in a row, 2 10-second time penalties in a row. You're not only in a race tonight to kind of get points and to finish high, but you're in a race and in a bit of a fight tonight to prove to the other drivers on the grid, to prove to your other colleagues racing with you, that you can race cleanly. I don't think he's a dirty driver. I think he's been caught up in 2 bad situations, but, 2 times in a row? Are they bad situations? Are they accidents? Or is it a pattern forming? That's the only thing you could really ask. But for now, the qualifying period coming to an end, and all eyes on Chizzy, Sergio.
Yeah, certainly are. Where is he going to land within this grid? This is a last gasp hurrah, really, from that Red Bull. Now coming around the final couple of turns here. Last corner now over the line. Where is that going to place him in the grid? Is it going to be that top spot?
Just
and it's
under.
not.
Look at
not
how
good
tight
enough.
it is. Look how tight that is.
I think that backs up both of our choices, really. It really is going to be a shootout between these two. I mean, Ryan's got quicker as well, 126.2, so he's closing that gap big time. He's
Yeah.
only 1/10 off of those top 2. So I think that top 3 podium places, I think that's going to be interesting for those 3, because we can't write Ryan off for winning this race. If those front 2 get so caught up with each other, there's a chance Ryan could take this all to himself, or just on pace alone, only being 1/10 away.
Yeah, I think all he's got to do tonight, Ryan Parker, even Rye, stick to the game plan. Don't get involved in the drama of the top 2 and, how they're going to be battling against each other. Just go about your business silently in the background and let the chips fall where they fall. But for now, qualifying, of course, pretty much at a finish point. And again, a reminder to everyone in here, please, do not ready up. Do not jump the gun. Get your setups on and make sure that you're ready for when Michael pings you. I'm going to quickly send a ping in the Discord again just to remind everyone about that. But yeah, like I said, a very, very fun race here at Miami coming tonight. But again, everyone take their time. And just remember, please, do not ready up. Thank you very much, everyone. Miami GP is starting soon. Do not ready up until 10:58 p.m. There we go. So, a lot of names to look out for. A lot of names that can maybe steal it from Chizzy today. And, of course, one big name missing today in VRL Kieran. He, of course, tucked away in his bed, no doubt. Maybe even watching. Maybe he's just being a spectator tonight. But let's wait and see. 10:38. Shit, sorry, I put 10:58. Whoopsie. Yeah, we won't be in the garage for 20 minutes. Don't worry. There's not that much of a driver meeting. Don't you worry. But yeah, good eyes, Momo. 10:38. There you go. So it's going to be 6 minutes effectively. Someone put 10:58. Lovely. I'll make a meal for the race. That's funny. That's good. Oh, well, I mean, again, we talk about setups, and we always say setups are so subjective, Sergio. I mean, for you, what is the ideal tyre strategy for this one tonight, would you say? I mean, sunny conditions, clean conditions. What's the best way to approach this? Do you come out and, go for medium, hard, medium? Do you do a 2-stop? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I'll be looking at going with in my mind, going straight away over 2-stop, mediums to start, then on to the hards, and just seeing how the race plays out, see how the tyre wear goes. Obviously, it is a hot track. The tyres will scrub a lot because there's a lot of long, high-speed winding corners, and they're the tyre killers, those corners.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think with that in mind, it'll be a case of almost play it by ear. I imagine it will be a 2-stop strategy. I imagine it will be a bit too difficult to do on a 1. I did get some valuable information from some drivers. Obviously, they know who they are, who did ping me a few messages after the last stream that we did, where they were talking about how the softs just fall off. They're no good. and the one stop strategy for the last race, it's doable, but doable with mass amounts of struggle. So the way to play it easy and still be able to somewhat attack or defend, yeah, will be probably the medium to then hard, back to then medium, or you can do it the other way around. It's just, I think that is purely preference of the driver, but it's going to be between those two tyre sets. I doubt we'll see the softs.
Yeah, I think at this point in time, the softs are just such a myth. You know, what I mean, the softs just may as well just be left in the packaging at this point. I don't think we're ever going to see the softs really be utilized. But again, you know, it always depends. Maybe if someone's feeling, you know, cheeky enough, if we see a safety car with 2 or 3 laps to go, someone goes a little bit crazy, balls to the wall and goes for it. But again, yeah, one to keep your eye on. But yeah, I think it's more for me today, not just about the strategy, but it's about that kind of those tight chicanes and the narrowness. Again, I've said it during the sprint. There's a bit of anxiety from my side today. A couple of these guys coming in, you know, reserve drivers, just got to be so careful with some of these tight corners and tight turns. You cannot rush this. I think it's one of those. We talked about it in Baku, and of course we know Miami isn't Baku, Sergio, but it is better to be slow and steady and then outlast people. Because again, you know, we saw it in Baku, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 cars either DNFing because they've taken a turn too stupidly and they've crashed or they've retired in the pits. Before you know it, if you're taking it nice and slowly, you could find yourself in the points in the top 10 because you've avoided penalties, you've avoided death, and you've just had a really safe race. I mean, that is going to be one option for those guys that are lower down in the grid, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. You could even sit there to one extreme and prey on a safety car. Again, it's not something we can write off, especially with a high percentage in the real F1, and that, if anything, gets higher for the sims and games and things. So yeah, you know, you could really play on that and just play the safe game, sit back and almost watch the chaos unfold in front of you, and then just take your moments, take advantage whenever someone goes a little extra wide, or if 2 cars are coming close together, they're battling hard, slowing each other down. Boom, you put your foot down a little earlier, see if you can get up alongside them, join the battle, or get past them and around, maybe even using that DRS, because obviously that will be coming into play now that the rain's not here. So yeah, that could be a massive factor as well, especially with the 2 DRS zones, because they are quite large, and it does have a massive effect at this circuit.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, there's not too long to go now. By my clock, I don't know what Michael's clock is saying. He is the race timekeeper. 10:37. So less than a minute to go here before lights go out and we begin our race tonight. Again, it will be all about strategy. It will be all about what people choose to do and how they maybe conduct themselves in that kind of opening sector. The big question mark is, what do we see from someone like Surtees? What do we see from someone like Jamsey? 2 back-to-back 10-second time penalties. A couple of drivers tonight, like I said, not only racing for points, but racing for their reputations, eh? That's a bit of a stark way to look at it, but said at least people will say we haven't got any rain, got all that out of our system in the sprint. There's no chaos tonight. There's no Elmo fire memes here for chaos and destruction. It will just be about who is the superior driver tonight. Chizzy's got all of, you know, the expectation once again to win this race, but Sean Tiller, Ryan Parker, they're saying don't count us out. We are experts on this track. And again, for Miami, it's one of those, again, I've seen it a lot, not just in the Discord, but a couple of people even coming in and saying it during the quali and during the sprint today. You know, they don't like Miami. They're not massive fans of Miami. It's not about what you like or what you enjoy. It's about what you can do in an adverse situation. Lights going out there, Sergio. We're finally here tonight. Race week 3 is underway. Miami, when 29 laps of it, very much here and ready to go. So now it's all about this opening corner, and it's all about these tight, and someone's already got a little bit wide there, but always going to happen. Bit of hanky early on. So we'll sit on Chizzy for the time being here. You'd expect a real tight one here this evening. surprised by the amount of hard tyres. Sergio said 2, 4, 6, 8 of our 20 drivers coming out with hards here to start off lap 1.
Yeah, it's a interesting one, but at the same time, they might just be going for the opposite choice. Who knows? Some of these drivers might be influenced by the stuff that myself or yourself says, before a race in terms of tyre choice. So they might just be going with the opposite to try and one-up their opponents that they're fighting in and around this evening. It might also be a case of that's a safer option to see actually how the tyre degrades over time. And the hardest tyre is obviously going to be the thickest one for that. So that would be the safest bet. So that could be also the path they're going down. But I mean, penalties coming in already, and I can tell you this: I've seen multiple incidents of contact within the lower half of the table just on this first lap alone. So that's not going to do anyone's tyres any good.
Tiller's just been hit there by, I think, Ryan Parker. So again, it's happening at the top end of the table as well. I mean, do you expect to see that tonight? 2 big penalties already, both of them corner cutting. Is that just because of the nature of this track? 10 seconds for Hippo and 3 seconds for Craig R. Surprised by that?
Not massively. There are certainly some corners you can easily cut, and that chicane going into the back straight where the DRS zone is in sector 3. So as you can see on the large scale minimap on the bottom right corner, where that number 3 is, that is the DRS zone, and it's that little kind of kink just before that left-hander onto that back straight. That's where people are going to get the most corner cutting, because like I said, if you get the line slightly incorrect, all 4 of your tyres leave the circuit, and that counts as an off-track. And say you do that 3 laps in a row, there's your 3 strikes. So very easy, very, very easy. But the fact they've got it this early within a single lap just shows that they will probably battle in 3 or maybe even 4 cars wide, and pushing each other off track. And that is the nature of racing, and unfortunately they've had to pay the price.
Well, there you go. For now, of course, Rye in 3rd position as well, but it does feel so far, Sergio, like it's, Chizzy, Tiller, and then the rest of the grid. Well, look at that. Ryan Parker just there overtaking Rye H. So, do you think this could devolve into something where it's, miniature battles all over the grid, for example, Chizzy versus Tiller for 1st, Ryan Parker versus Rye for 3rd, Hippo versus Shadow Gunners for 5th? Do you think we're going to see miniature kind of segment battles like that? Do you have faith that there's going to be a bit of... There was a big bump there, by the way, from Tiller on to Chizzy. These guys are struggling with the narrowness of the track so far, but do you think there's a possibility that we see, trains formulate, or is it going to be kind of, a split pack tonight, do you think?
I think the top 10 will be split, and I think it's actually going to be the rear half of the table that will be quite close together. So it's about where Dino is at the minute. That's currently the split on circuit. As you look at the minimap, as you can see behind there, it's more or less a single train. They're now kind of splitting off into groups, but I think it's that back half that's going to end up in one large train, just purely because of the DRS and the benefits you get of running in a long train with all that slipstream as well.
I'll tell you what, they are getting aggressive down here in 3rd team, just on Jamsey here. I tell you, man, this is up there with Baku for like how kind of white knuckle to the controller and the wheel you're going to be. These are so tight, these corners, and I mean you're already seeing it. Jamsey, who is usually someone that is right up there in the top 5, struggling to kind of gain positions here. And people did say earlier on in the chat, they said, listen, you can say starting at the back is a benefit because you avoid all the chaos, but ultimately Miami, historically, such a difficult track to get consistent overtakes on. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. It is a tighter circuit, so it is naturally harder to get overtakes done when you compare it to your likes of, for example, Silverstone, which is a lot more of a wider track, plenty more overtaking opportunities there. So yeah, it is a lot more difficult, but it's one of those things that these drivers need to put time in and work that out over the course of the week or in their practice sessions to find out where they could potentially overtake or where they're stronger, and they can use that specific section of the circuit to mount their attack.
Well, for now, we'll go back up the grid again. We're just sitting with Jamsey there and see how that was going to go down. It's a real battle everywhere, and we'll sit with the number 2 Ferrari at the minute. It's him and Dirty Hippo. Of course, Hippo with that penalty. Currently having a bit of a scrap here for 5th position as we go through these tight turns and twists once again. But 4 laps in as it stands, and you can see right at the top of the standings, Tiller is controlling the action so far. And there is Jamsey now with a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. Is this going to be the track this season that's going to generate the most corner cutting penalties, or is there a track for you, Sergio, that generates more than this in terms of corner cutting penalties?
I think this is definitely up there in terms of the amount we're going to see. Just looking at the tracks at the minute, yeah, I think this one's probably going to be up there. The rest are a lot easier, shall we say, to keep away from those warnings and those off tracks. Not saying it is easy full stop, because it never is, but it is definitely easier than it is here in Miami. So yeah, and it was Jamsey on that chicane section I mentioned as well, where he got that penalty from, because unfortunately he just had to go straight over. I don't think he hit his braking point, because the Aston Martins and the Alpines at the minute really well and truly locked in battle at the moment, and it's getting quite aggressive as well. Very elbows out. There's plenty of contact between the tyres of both sets of cars. So yeah, it is very aggressive, shall we say, between these guys. I'm going to stay on it and keep you updated with the battle though.
Right, well, for now, and there's been an incident here. Rye that's where he's gone out. If you see my stream there, it's that I don't know what he's collided with, but it's just over the hilltop here, if you want to call it that. And yeah, the debris of his car, very much there. What do you think happened there to cause an incident, a crash, just coming into that section? Sorry.
Well, obviously, I didn't catch it live, but I imagine, judging on where he's sitting on the circuit, he's probably caught the inside barrier. So as going around that left-hander there in that chicane, I think I know it's very easy to catch your front left tyre and the wing on that zone. So there's a chance that he's actually hit that with some force and actually snapped the wheel off, forcing a retirement. Because I doubt if he's just broken a wing, he's just going to sit there in the middle of the track and retire. So I imagine it'll be a forced retirement where he's actually ripped the entire suspension off that front left corner of the car. But safety car is out until that debris is officially cleared.
I mean, devastating for Rye as well. It's such a good performance in the sprint, but there you go. Maybe that's what we talked about 30 minutes ago, man. Maybe that's the fatigue setting in. A lot of driving today. You said 10:47 currently. That's the kind of usual time that we finish a race. So, only 5 laps in. And sadly, Rye, who has been absolutely brilliant tonight up until that point, is out of this race. And, a lot of the guys here choosing to pit. I mean, is it too early in the race, 6 laps in, to really be talking about, it being a benefit? It's benefited one of Tiller or Chizzy to pit. I think it's benefited Griminus, or Frost Tactic, excuse me, because it allows him to kind of rejoin the pack, but doesn't really change the flow of this race because it's so early on, right?
Yeah, no, it won't change too much. What it will do though is it will give the drivers a chance to switch to their alternative compound of tyre, which means that officially they've stuck to the rules and they've done 2 different tyre compounds. So now they have the freedom to come in again for another pit stop, which inevitably that will happen. And they get the freedom of choosing whatever they want. They now don't have to worry about, I can't pick that tyre because I need to do a different compound. They can go for whatever they want. So if they want a double stack on some mediums, like for example, I'm still on board here with Jamsey at the minute, on the mediums with Lucas, and both of them, if they fancied it and they wanted to go aggressive, they could try and do this stint of mediums and then go for another stint of mediums. Could go back to back, we just don't know, but it does give them that kind of freedom to now experiment and do as they wish depending on the battles around them.
There you go. Of course, you would imagine safety car probably going to go back in here in about a lap or 2 from now. Dirty Hippo getting a 10-second time penalty for ignoring the yellow flag as well. It makes it feel like my underdog prediction shout of Dirty Hippo has been one of the worst predictions in human history from a commentary perspective. So, Marcel, everyone's favourite German, just give me the old what for tonight. Damn it, Marcel, I expected so much more. But, hey, who knows? They're only penalties. Maybe you find a way to break through them. I don't know. But for now, we stay with Chizzy. And we see what goes on here. So, has the safety car gone in?
No, I don't believe so. Pulled off to one side, and the lights are currently on. So I'm not too sure if all the cars are just being waved around and we're returning to racing conditions. I'm not 100% sure because I've not seen this before.
Well,
it's an interesting one.
A first for everything, I suppose, here in Miami. But
yes, sorry, it is. Yeah, if we look at the timing tower, you do have Lisp behind by a lap. So the actual start of the safety car queue is with Shadow Gunner, who's right behind the safety car now. That is your leader of the race, and he's more or less a lap ahead of everyone. So they've now all been told to pass the safety car to go and catch
up
the leader.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, understood. Yep. So that means Shadow. So obviously that indicates then that Shadow's Gunner is one of the few people that did not go in and pit. Then, right? That's what that's telling us.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, not coming for that pit stop. Just checking now. Well, actually, somehow has. Shadow's done one pit stop. The two cars behind haven't. Bailey hasn't. They're the only three cars that haven't. So Shadow is one of the cars that has pitted. So how on earth this advantage has come about, I will never know.
Yeah, I'm quite confused at where the extra lap has come from. Then how he's a lap ahead effectively. That's quite strange. But hey, whatever. And yeah, said 8 laps down, 20 out of 29. So we're not even at the halfway point yet. Still so many twists and turns physically to go. Kayla coming in as well, saying, Sean Tiller, I'm your biggest fan. Well, there's a lot of pressure on him today. Kayla, he's going to compete with Chizzy, of course. The big bad Chizzy. But for now, a safety car has slowed proceedings down. Certi said Miami is a tad broken. I mean, have you heard about issues on Miami like this before? Or is this just completely out of nowhere for you, Sergio?
I've heard of issues on the F1 game like this in total, but I've never known it at this circuit. I've never actually been in a server where this has happened, so this is the first time seeing it live. I've normally just seen it online, on your YouTube or whatever, but that's about it. So seeing this firsthand for the first time is interesting, that's for sure. But the question is when is the safety car going to come in? It seems like the safety car's upped its speed now, so lights are still on at the minute. I'll have to see if the lights are still on come the end of the chicane that it's now approaching. Because if they do switch off, that means we're going back under racing conditions. And that means Shadow Gunner's going to have about a 50-second, well, probably by the end of the safety car, probably about a 30-second lead to the cars behind. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Whether the safety car's going to wait for everyone to bunch up like it should, or if they're just going to let it go early.
That is very bizarre. Very bizarre. So to say, Miami is one of the most bug-filled tracks at the start of the game. Some have been fixed, but it's still just hit or miss if it breaks or not. And there you go, the safety car saying that it's coming in for this lap. So, I mean, how do you approach this? I mean, let's take your commentary hat off here, and let's put the control in your hands here. If you're Michael, if you've got a lisp and you've just seen this happen, how do you navigate this, Sergio? Do you just allow it and say, well, it's part and parcel of the game, EA Sports, or what do you do?
Yeah, play on. Play to the whistle. It's not the end. Anything can happen still. Shadow may not win this race. I mean, Shadow's going very, very slow at the minute. Obviously waiting for the rest of the pack to catch up. So
that's great sportsmanship from him, because he doesn't need to do that, does he?
No, not at all. And he's waiting for the others to catch up. And now that that's happened, that's basically null and void that advantage. So if anything, Shadow's actions there has just completely ignored your question to me, and has just basically said, no, we're going to do this fair. And now we're basically restarting with Shadow as the temporary safety car.
Well, I mean, you're not going to see that every day, are you, Sergio? I mean, there's got to be, I don't know if Michael's down to, again, I'm not going to speak on behalf of Michael, but if that was me in my position and I was a big kind of F1, fanatic, I think that's a justification of giving him just, a sportsmanship bonus point. I don't know what can be done for him there, but that he didn't need to do that, and he's effectively kind of saved the race from being a complete shit show there, so fair play to him. So there you go. Well, Rai saying Shadows went too slow on the restart, by the way. He was sub 70 miles an hour. So, and it's a 10-second penalty. So what do you make of that?
That's, yeah, potentially true. However, the game itself has not picked that up. So,
yeah, he said in IRL it is anyway. Yeah, that's. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that would be deemed as obviously a bad move, and yeah, you would get your penalty from that. I believe there was something similar where I think it was the 2021 fight between Hamilton and Verstappen, where Verstappen was doing just that, and holding the grid up a lot slower than what you would expect. But I believe that's before the rules brought in, and the rules brought in after that because of that situation. I believe. I could be wrong. I might need to be fact checked, but I think that was why the rule was brought in, because cars were using it more to their advantage. They were taking too much advantage of it and really hindering on other cars.
Well, there you go. Well, at least for now, we're back underway, and I think now maybe there's going to be this kind of impending fear, isn't there, Sergio, of what happens if we see another safety car, but only time will tell. Of course, we've seen 2 speeding in the pit lane penalties already, but can't even feel aggrieved for those 2, because I think both of them have come from our reserve drivers, Momo or CWL, and then just now Bailey. Again, speeding in the pit lane, one that is so avoidable. You've just got to kind of check yourself in terms of the speed that you're going in at. You do not want to give yourself a massive disadvantage with that penalty in a track here tonight, in a grid here tonight as well, that is so tense and anxious. For now, I mean, a very good position for the Ferrari, regardless, Sergio. Yes, only 11 laps in of 29 as we pass the 1/3 mark of the race. But if the Ferrari can keep 2 out of 3 podium positions, they could be the big winners tonight, no?
Yeah, massive. You could do one over not only the Red Bull, but also over the Williams. So this is the prime time for them to basically leapfrog Williams and really start knocking on the door of those Red Bull drivers. Obviously, they're both high up the table as well, so it's not going to close down the gap massively, but it will make somewhat of a difference, especially if you can pull off a P1 as it stands at the minute. But Chrissy is bearing down, and with that quickest lap now in as well, 129.8, the gap could shorten even more. So it's a question of, is Shadow going to play more of the team game and let Tiller, who was originally fighting toe-to-toe with Chizzy, sorry. Is he going to sort of hold that Red Bull up and let the other Ferrari through?
I would love to see
possibly play the team game.
I would love to see it. I think this is the thing, though. Shadow's Gunner is, over the last couple of weeks, getting more and more confident in himself, though, isn't he? He's getting comfortable. He's been up there, at the summit of the grid. It's not like he's been middle of the pack or outside the points. He's been right up there. So maybe he'll be saying to Tiller tonight, listen, you be the good teammate. You get in front of Chizzy, and you help me win this one. But I think regardless, I think if we see a Ferrari cross the finish line of first tonight, it's a job well done, no matter what the name next to the Ferrari badge is. But again, this is, the disadvantage of being one of the greats, isn't it, Sergio? You've got to be skeptical about teamwork. You've got to be kind of skeptical about who's going to play blocker, and who's going to be the guy that tries to basically ruin your race, if you want to use language like that. But he has to expect it. He is the defending champion. He is the, in my opinion, best driver on the grid. And like I said, whether it be football, boxing, whatever sport you watch, when you're the best at something, you have to expect the rest of your competitors to do anything possible, within the rules of course, to try and get one up over you. And right now, although there's still 16 laps to go, that seems to be the case here. Well, while that develops, let's go through the grid as well and have a look elsewhere. You can see here Tiller getting a great view of Chizzy and Shadow's Gunner as well. But let's go and see if we've got any trains here. Yes, we do. A train or a little bit of a pack, should I say, here between 10th, 9th, and 8th. Blazer Guns just about in the points here as he looks to keep steady with Lucas. And fair play to the Alpine tonight. Lucas and Blazer Guns have just been right next to each other, almost holding hands for the entire race. And well, there's been another issue or another incident there, because I think Dirty Hippo, I don't know if he's just retired in the pits. I think maybe he has, or maybe there's been an incident, but it doesn't look like there's a safety car coming, Sergio. So it looks like tonight Dirty Hippo did get that 10-second time penalty early on for corner cutting, I think it was, has, waved the white flag and said, race on, lads, but this one not for me. Miami clearly taking another soul, not physically, but mentally, perhaps.
Yeah, and I think he did retire in the pit because the AI naturally drive the car out of pit for whatever reason, and then pull over at the nearest point they can, at the safest point they can, where the marshals are standing, where there's an exit point on the circuit, which so far hasn't been found by Hippo's Mercedes, and it now has been in that Sector 1, so we should be all good to race through Sector 1. There'll still be a yellow flag in that area of the car, I imagine. In fact, no, that's completely gone away. So yeah, we'll be under full racing conditions now, which is nice to see. But yeah, I think it could be that fatigue. It could be the time of night as well. If whatever they've got planned for tomorrow, it might be a case of got to be up early. You just never know. And
again, he's in Germany as well, so he is an hour ahead. So it is literally just hit midnight for him. So you can understand in that perspective as well. So far, an interesting one, because his teammate as well, and Benchwarmer, usually a kind of top-end performer, ghosting, so I don't know if he's disconnected or had an issue there, but again, you want to see him to get back in, because he's, again, very much able to finish in the points here, with Lucas having that penalty, as well as Craig, so you'd hope he makes it back in regardless, as Benchwarmer is asking for an invite. So again, the PC guys or the PlayStation guys getting kicked out, and I wish I could kind of get in there and invite Benchwarmer, but I don't even have people added. It may have to be a thing where literally I say to people, add me so I can invite you in, because again, I didn't get really anything from anybody in terms of inviting people in, but if I can, no, it's offline, EA friends, that's not going to do anything either. So yeah, it's not one that I can help with, sadly. As Benchwarmer there is almost kind of pounding his wheel in frustration. He's going to have to find someone to join back off of, whether it be Chizzy or Shadow's going to someone on the PlayStation side. He's going to need to try and find a profile to join off of and join back off of quickly, but disappointing. And may well have to be one note to self, or someone remind me that's listening to us afterwards, we can put my EA ID in or whatever, and then that way everyone can add me, and if anyone does disconnect, they can kind of grab my attention in the chat, and then we can invite you back in that way. But who knows? For Craig Art, another 3-second time penalty as well for multiple warnings. Disappointing for the Mercedes, because again, I think they had such great potential tonight, but yeah, Miami, that'll happen. Getting a little bit cloudy here in Miami. Are you concerned by that, Sergio, or is that just me being, overcritical of the weather right now? Seeing some clouds in the background, you think we can maybe see some rain? The sun's on one side, and you've got this cloudy kind of menacing look of weather on the other side.
Yeah, well, we're certainly seeing cloud form, and that will be accelerated a little as well, because obviously we're not doing a full-length Grand Prix, so the weather naturally, I think, is accelerated by, I think it's about 1.5 times 2. I'm not too sure exactly, but I know it is accelerated a little bit. So yeah, we might be seeing some rain possibly develop over the next maybe 10-ish minutes, which will be sort of towards the tail end of this race, which could throw some strategies out the window, and could really mix up the table as well in terms of where these cars are. I mean, the people that I think have suffered the most from that safety car really is Kick Sauber lot. The P7 and P9, I mean, Ryan Parker was flying high before that safety car, and then after that, it now dropped down the table. So, I mean, not at the points yet, but still, nevertheless, it was a lot higher up with a lot bigger of a bag of points.
Well, I'm being pinged by Benchwarmer that I'm supposed to be inviting him. Do I do that by fucking clapping my hands and fucking finding a way to add you, Benchwarmer? Like, what are you... There's no point telling me, mate. You haven't got me added. You haven't got me doing anything. I don't know what you're expecting me to do here, pal. Like, it's not my fault that you're on the fucking garbage console. Like, what do you want me to do here? I can't do much for you, can I? So, Yeah. Could you add me on EA, please? Well, how the fuck am I supposed to add you on EA in the race? This is just, like, ridiculous, man. So what, I have to now, what? I have to leave the race, add you, and then come back into the race and invite you? That's what I have to do. Does that sound right, Sergio? Because, again, I've never done this before. Do I need to leave, add him, and then come back in and invite him?
I'm not 100% sure because I've never added anyone myself. I believe you should be able to do it from inside the race. Just having a look here myself. Oh, never mind. I can't see any way you can add new friends. So I don't believe you can do it from inside.
Well, I'm going to risk it and dip on. I don't know if you want to try it. I don't know if you want to give that a go or not, so we can keep camera on the race, because I don't want to have to do it and then I'm not be able to get back in. But I can give you his. Oh, he's deleted the message. I don't even know what his EA ID is anymore. It's just completely disappeared. Did he get back in? Did he manage to get back in? Nope, he's still ghosting. So no idea on that one. Maybe he's given up. I have no idea on that. But said his EA ID was there. I went to go flick around in the menus and he's deleted his message. So yeah, one of them. I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that, but yeah. For now, at least, we carry on. That's what you can really say. And hope that the Mercedes here, who is disconnected, can find the way back in. But yeah, I think you've got to have at least a couple of people here added, especially those that are racing. You know, have a couple of people added so you know literally if you disconnect, you can just join off of someone. Because, again, no one really kind of DM'd me or told me. I had one DM, I think, earlier on. Someone said they were going to give me their EA ID to add them, but I had no message. I was too busy doing some FIFA stuff. So, you know, it's kind of all up in the air. Back onto this one quickly as well, just because we've seen this position kind of now change, Sergio. 1-2 Ferrari. So now this is about kind of protecting the Ferrari finish, isn't it? This could be a massive opportunity for the Ferrari to go forth, and you can see that Chizzy is now opting to pits 11-lap-old mediums. Is that the right decision?
According to the active battle, yes, because your direct rival, which is Shadow, is also into the pit on the same age of tyre. So he's trying to match what Shadow's doing and kind of forgetting what Tiller's doing, from what I can see at the moment. Because it did look like Tiller overtook a little easy on the back straight past Chizzy, but nevertheless, I mean, an overtake is an overtake. And also, it was a great save from Sir Quiddith just ahead of that as well. But yeah, I think he's just trying to match what Shadow's doing, and then who knows, could be banking on the rain or potentially some other aspect to come into play here, because the pace was fairly similar. I didn't see any clear opportunities for Chizzy to actually make a breakaway. In actual fact, Tiller was keeping up fairly well on the hards as well, so it shows there's not much difference between the hards and the mediums in terms of pace. There's not a ton of difference anyway, but then again, I could be wrong entirely, and there might be a bit of a difference, but Tiller's skill level at this circuit is a lot higher than others potentially, which we have seen so far in the qualifying.
As well, during all that, one, I think, disappointing one from you, one that you kind of said was a guy to watch and keep your eyes on tonight. Ryan Parker, 10-second speeding penalty in the pit lane. I mean, that, again, for a driver of his level, going to be a frustrating one to accept as well.
Yeah, certainly going to be a killer. 10-second time penalty is always killers, and especially for something as simple as that. It's one of those annoying things that so simple you think you'll never forget it, but it's so easily forgotten. And yeah, it really can just kill off your race and the momentum entirely. It becomes a point where you're just fighting the other people that have that 10-second time penalty as well. So in actual fact, the people that you race on a circuit doesn't really matter anymore, and that could be one of them things again as well. You might see that pop up, and that fatigue added in with the frustration of getting a penalty like that, of that size, you might just round and be like, oh, you know what, that's me for the night, and call it quits. So it'll be interesting to see if every driver does come out of the pit lane again. I hope they do. But obviously there is a chance that some drivers might just pack it up before the end here. But we're down to the last 10 laps, so it's not long to go.
Well, a quick recap then on all of these penalties. The majority of them nearing the bottom half of the grid. 6 seconds for Craig R, 10 for Ryan Parker, 3 for Hdinho, 3 for Lucas, 16 for Bailey, 3 for Frost Tactic, 3 for AM, 3 for Jamsey, and 6 there for Momo, or CWL as we know him. With 10 laps remaining, I mean, with all the kind of, narrative and storyline that we had before this race kicked off tonight, in terms of, the brilliance of the Kick Sauber and the consistency of the Mercedes, 10 laps to go, who are you looking at now as and saying, you've got a great opportunity to do something great here, whether it be win the race, get into the podium positions, get points for the first time? Who are you looking at and going, yeah, you still got something to fight for here?
In terms of points, I'd still say, I'd say, to be fair, probably Cons. One of the cars up there, I don't want to jinx it, so I'm touching wood while saying this, but one of the cars that doesn't have a penalty, and he's got 3 cars ahead of him that have a penalty, all fairly close together as well. So that cluster would move down towards him, so that all plays into his hands. So I think Cons is definitely one of the drivers at the minute, or the better driver, in terms of there's definitely something up for grabs here, and it could just be only a few points. But
you look at that, you've literally commentators cursed it. So as he's doing this brilliant thing, backing you up, Cons, remember, he literally, at the start of this season 3, week 1, you said that Cons was your bomb scare, and that he, over the last couple of weeks, he's grown on you. You even gave him a little bit of a compliment in that same sentence, that he could maybe finish as high as 8th or 9th, and then look at that, gets the 3-second time penalty, and now that blockade of penalties just continuing to grow and grow and grow. Another 3-second one there for Craig R. And we've just seen CWL, the man that's come in for VRL Kieran tonight, has retired in the pits. It was always going to be tricky, like we said, Sergio, for these kind of reserve drivers coming in that aren't really maybe used to the level of this grid, aren't used to the kind of, the demands of this track tonight. And you have to kind of give your props to CWL, give your props to Bailey, but not their night tonight, and probably not the track for them tonight either.
Yeah, possibly not. It is a big shame for Lisp as well, being the only Williams driver now out there again. It does suck, but in a good position at the moment. I'm not going to talk about that too much, because I'm not going to repeat what I just did to Con. But it's looking okay in terms of his race. But yeah, it's unfortunate in terms of the Constructors' Championship for Williams, that they're not going to get points from both cars. This time out, it will just be the singular car. But unfortunately, that's just the way things go. If Kieran's going to miss a race, and the Ferrari find fiery form, which they're on at the minute, things really will get turned on its head, because I will say this, it's probably some of the best racing I have seen in the last year or two that I've been either racing myself or doing commentary on different races and simulators. It is all really close. And I have to say, it's aggressive, but it's aggressive team play that I've seen from Shadow and Tiller. Shadow's really been holding up that Red Bull of Chizzy there.
Oh, and Chizzy there. I don't know if that was Craig that has caused that, if that was just overspin there from Chizzy. I don't know if there was contact from anywhere, but I mean that's really bad for Chizzy. I don't know what caused that. That's crazy. Thank you. Good evening to you as well, Lucky. But yeah, a little bit. I mean, what did you see? Was that just oversteer? What happened there?
I think the car just suddenly kicked the back end out, and it could just be put on the power a bit too soon, turn around that corner, or even just hitting the rumble strip a bit incorrect in terms of the wheel bouncing off of it. Because obviously, when you hit a rumble strip, the tyre's not actually making contact with the ground. So if he's hit it a bit harder than normal, it might have actually bounced that car up and slightly spun it out. It managed to hold it, so may have somewhat predicted it or knew it might be coming. It's definitely not going to be any tyre wear, because the tyres are 4 laps old, the same as your leader, so there's no issues there. But the other thing it could potentially be is dirty air from the cars ahead. That does have a massive effect on Formula cars, not only Formula 1 but all the way down to Formula 4 and Formula Ford. They're really slow Formula cars. They all struggle in dirty air because of how aerodynamic these cars are. So that could be one of the factors, especially in the corners, that really sucks for the Red Bull.
Whoa,
speaking of Red Bull, we've lost
one. That's a big one. Yep, Craig R. And is it that same area It is. It's the exact same area where we saw Rye bin it, Sergio. So it's that same kind of upwards divot again, and I think that is going to cause the safety car to come out. I'm not sure, but surprised again. The same exact place where we saw Rye depart, we now see Craig R depart.
It's unfortunate. Surprised? No. That corner does take several cars out every race that I've seen. I've been the victim of that multiple times. I have to admit, but it does suck. And the fact he's in exactly the same position as well on the circuit, that's kind of telling me that it probably was the same incident that happened early in the race. I'm guessing the front left tyre had completely been ripped off and it was a forced retirement. But yeah, it's massive sad news there for the Red Bull team, because again, this really does play into the Ferrari's hands in terms of the Constructors' Championship. Not only that, but also the Drivers' Championship as well. This really would put the two Ferrari drivers up in there amongst it, and potentially even leapfrogging a couple of people on there as well. So this really does flip everything on its head for the Ferrari drivers. This is fantastic playing in their hands.
Tell you as well, what's also sad news is I think Blazerguns got so excited by the news of a safety car. Not only did he get a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, he's just got an extra 3 seconds, Sergio, for multiple warnings. So he's up to 13 seconds now. It's such a shame because he's up to 6th place without those penalties. But yeah, it's been a track today with a couple of explosions in terms of cars binning it, but also it's been the nightmare of corner cutting and warnings tonight for these penalties. You can see all those penalties there on the left-hand side of your screen. The question I have a burning desire to ask you now, though, is from a competitor standpoint. From a sporting standpoint, this is categorically the most dangerous position that Chizzy's been in so far this season of losing a race. And it has been from this effective, brilliant teamwork from the two Red Bulls. They're communicating clearly. They know what they're doing. The aim is to get the 1-2. But, and it's a big but, Tiller is a competitor first. I will say that, Sergio. Will there be this lingering thinking to himself, last lap, last 2 laps, to just push the pace here and go for first? Because, yeah, you can give Shadow Gunners the win, but there's also that sense of personal glory. How many times a season, how many times in a calendar year are you going to be able to say that you beat Chizzy in a race? Does he really want to give that to Shadow's Gunner, or is there going to be, this lingering thought that he can have that himself? What do you think?
Well, if we're going to look at the ultimate team game, the ultimate team game would be Shadow to take P1 and Tiller to take P2, because the Drivers' Championship, that is the order those two are in. Tiller is behind Gunner by 6 points. So in terms of, if you look at it from like a McLaren point of view, from their real life Formula 1 season last season, it was very much a focus on Piastri. He's leading the championship. Then it suddenly switched because of a few bad races, bad results, whatever. Then it switched to Norris. Right, focus. Need this, need that, need that. And I wonder if that's maybe the stance that Ferrari might take. The fact that Shadow is ahead on the championship at the minute. But you have to take into factor we're still early doors, so they could just scrap it out. They've got to be careful if they're going to do that, though, because Chizzy is not an easy driver to keep behind. If you try and fight it out, great, have fun. It's really good entertainment for people watching the stream, and good entertainment for us as well. But it's going to cost you, and it will cost you big as well. So they've really got to play their cards wisely here, because it is going to be a shootout now. We're coming into the last few laps. There's only a handful of laps to go, so they really do need to make sure they know exactly what they're doing come this restart as well, because if they end up fighting each other even in the slightest, Chizzy's well in the mix for a P1.
Am I right in recalling, again, not a massive F1 fan, I can't lie to you, but I remember recalling, whether it was last year, a few years ago, wasn't there a big incident with one F1 team where someone was told to let their teammate, go ahead, and he basically rejected it, he refused it, and of course, it was like a big thing in sports news. Am I making that up, or?
No, that is correct. I mean, that's happened in multiple situations. The one that sticks out most clearly in my mind was Well, you've got Hamilton that's done it.
Yeah.
George Russell's also done it, and the one that sticks up most to me is the Max Verstappen one, where he refused to go ahead of, I think his teammate at the time was Daniel Ricciardo, and because he went ahead in qualifying, or he got to qualify first, and used the other car as his slipstream 1 week, and then the next week Ricardo would then have a chance to do it, but they told Max, no, overtake. You need to do your focus on you, forget him. And he said no. And that was the first time someone had actually rebelled at Red Bull as well. That was the first time that Max had actually put his foot down. And this was obviously before he was a world champion, so this was still on his upcoming, if you would like. But yeah, multiple drivers have done it, and it's more common now. It seems like drivers are getting their way a little more in terms of the decisions slash tactics.
Are there repercussions for that in the actual season? And can the team, can the coordinator at Ferrari ever fine the driver if they don't do what they say? Is there any blowback for that if the driver says, "Nah, I'm doing my own thing"?
Yes, yeah. So there will be nothing official from the FIA, but there will be inter-house consequences, in terms of possibly fines. Or even maybe slight thing, or in extreme cases, an upgrade going to your teammate's car instead of yours.
Okay.
But that's an extreme case. The main thing is fines. That's the most common one. Same as football player misconduct is fines and going from there. And the worse it gets, the worse the punishment.
Well, listen, we've got 3 laps to go here, and already one big bit of news has happened, because look at that. Chizzy, right back to where he was before, sandwiched between these two Ferraris. So Chizzy still with a chance to win this one and make it 3 in a row tonight, Sergio, but he's going to need to find a way to get beyond Shadow's Gunner. And Tiller, I can tell you this much now for free, if Tiller finds a way to pull in front of Chizzy here, I don't think Chizzy's going to get ahead again tonight. I think Tiller will absolutely box him out of this one and will guide it home for the Ferrari. But I mean, it's going to say a lot about the intent, about the skill level, about the quality here tonight if Chizzy finds a way to win this race, does it not?
Yeah, it certainly will. And I think that'll be the ultimate powerhouse move. If Chizzy could pull a win off here, who's going to stop him? Who is going to stop him? If the Ferrari team, not even driver, if the Ferrari team couldn't stop him, who's going to be the person or the group to do it? Because it might be a case of you literally got to have 2 teams to team up just to go against Chizzy to stop him from winning the race. It's not an easy challenge, and it's something that Ferraris have handled well this race. But with DRS now coming into play as well, this is where things might get a little interesting, and I think there might be a little bit of heat between Chizzy and Tiller as well, because there was contact on that restart at turn 1 when the overtake was made. Who was at fault, I can't say for sure, but there was wheel bashing in that first turn, and I think that ultimately benefited Chizzy in getting the move. But I think the move would have been done anyway because of the send down the inside.
I tell you this much as well, by the way, completely off topic from this incredible battle here in the top 3. We talked earlier on before this race started about people going under the radar, minding their own business. Surtees in 4th place with the Aston Martin, Sergio. The Aston Martin 4th and 5th, of course. Jamsey has got those time penalties there, 6 seconds. But I mean, they've kind of come out of nowhere, haven't they? Especially Surtees.
Yeah, certainly have. A fantastic result if it does finish this way as well. Question is, are they going to swap around based on championship standings in terms of the driver side of things? Not too sure. It's not going to matter massively, because bearing in mind both of those, Jamsey has a time penalty anyway, so if he does let his teammate go, which they go side by side, a bit of a risky strategy there for a corner, but that's what they want to do, then have fun. But they've obviously swapped around in a minute, but say doesn't really need to worry too much because you're still ahead realistically with that penalty in play, and now you've got the DRS as well, so you can try your best to defend to Cons in behind there, who again, Cons having a good race even with that time penalty that I ultimately gave him. Doing well, doing a very good job in P6 at the minute.
So I think this would be one of Surtees' highest ever finishes that I can recall on recent memory as well. Usually someone that kind of memes with those intermediates, but there's no memeing now. 1 lap to go. He's in a top 5 position. He's got a nosebleed. He's that high. He'll be loving it. I bet his hands are shaking to the core here. But listen, we'll stick with Chizzy, and Chizzy here is going to get first place right back. Look at that, Sergio, but it's not over yet. They're so side by side. A great camera angle here from Tiller, but Chizzy now just poking his nose ahead and now has the lead. And I mean, like you said, a power move, balls on the table. One of those where Chizzy can look behind him and say, it was a 2-on-1 handicap match and I've still come out on top. He is, as we said, the greatest, the best, the most championship battle-hardened driver on this track tonight is Chizzy. It's going to take something special to beat him. Certainly is. And look at that. I'll tell you this much there. That was a really nice move. I don't know if it was a league or not. You're the rule expert here. But it almost felt like Tiller with a bump has just bumped Shadow Gunners ever so slightly ahead before Chizzy then retakes the lead. This is going to be a shootout here. And look at this now. Shadow's Gunner playing teammate. I think there was a little bit of contact there again. Sergio, get your opinion on that. And now Tiller's in the lead.
Yeah, no, there definitely was a contact there. In terms of the little bump you saw on the straight, not often seen in F1 because these cars don't do it very well, but in tin top racing, so like your GT3s and any GT cars, touring cars, all that, they all do what they call bump drafting. So you're sitting in the slipstream with the car ahead and you just keep nudging their bumper because obviously you've got more speed in that car due to the slipstream. They're braking the wind. You don't have that problem, so you can go quicker. So you're giving them your speed by constantly hitting their bumper. Very, very slight nudges that you don't really feel that much, but they keep bumping you, and that gives you an extra couple of miles an hour down the straight as well, which ultimately makes them quicker, and that helps you pull away from the cars behind. But in this sense, it was actually a very good attacking move there, which ultimately could have given, or helped given, Tiller the win here as they come down the back straight for the final time.
Well, there you go. I mean, listen, Tiller's going to do it here, potentially. Let's see if he can survive this, and he is not going to survive it. Chizzy just getting past him, and that's where Chizzy's got the majority of his overtakes tonight. There's been a couple more bits of bumping here, but, I mean, Chizzy has done it. That is brilliant, Sergio. Such heartbreak for the Ferrari, who had about 10 laps of control boxing Chizzy in. But he's just unstoppable, isn't he, Sergio? The best to ever do it, and he gets another race win tonight. Probably in the most difficult circumstance all season so far.
Yeah, certainly. Done very, very well, though, both of the Ferrari drivers there. An absolutely incredible race from all three of them, but the fact is he still pulled that off is all pretty much a miracle, to be honest.
Yeah.
But fantastic work all around from all the drivers there. Really, really good work, and it's really good to see as well. It's crazy to see like the levels going up race by race as the season goes on, because it's not a massive season. The season is short, but the fact is stepping up this much every race is just incredible.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what as well, driver of the day, I think for me, for the usual standard of where he finishes and just how under the radar he was, Surtees picking up 4th position. I'll tell you this much, he's going to be telling everyone in the local town about that one. That is such a rarity from Surtees, but again proves that when he's not being a massive meme lord, he can race with the very best of them. A very, very nice finish from him tonight. So there you go. There's complaints, no doubt. There's definitely complaints. Sir Quinniff saying those racing standards were terrible, to which Michael said, yeah, wasn't great. What do you make of that?
No, I would agree. I mean, touching on the contact we saw at the very start of the race, obviously we see it at the very end and between multiple different cars throughout the grid as well. So, yeah, in general, considering F1's supposedly non-contact entirely, yeah, it's not the cleanest in the world, but it's going to be a difficult one because it depends on how many reports you come in for the stewards as well. But you can't let that take away from the sheer quality of racing we have just seen. To be fair, even though it was very elbows out, there was contact. it was still very, very good to see.
I'm going to come on to that as well. I think you can. I'm not saying it's correct or incorrect, but in a track like that, Sergio, where it's a lot more narrow and it's a street circuit and all this, you have to expect there's going to be contact because of how narrow this grid is. No one here is an F1 pro where they're racing for money. I think if the track was wider, if it's not so constrictive and compact, you see more kind of pure racing, so to speak. But I didn't think the race was terrible. Maybe people will say the race standard was terrible. I thought the race was great. The drama in that was absolutely brilliant. And again, you saw a little bit of everything. You saw kind of underdogs rise up to the top four. You saw that kind of brilliant kind of boxing maneuver of the Ferrari on the Red Bull. I don't think there's many complaints from me about that tonight. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, no, overall I thought it was amazing, to be honest. Yeah, a little bit elbows out here and there, but it wasn't contact that's causing serious damage. The damage was minimal to majority of cars that were involved. The major damage was actually other people driving into walls. Didn't look like anyone was tampering with that in terms of hitting people into them, but yeah, it's unlucky from those drivers that were caught in that, and from everyone else, it was just, again, unbelievable racing. Fantastic stuff to see.
Yeah, we're getting more, conversation for the drivers now about that first safety car. Bailey saying, was so confused that the first safety car got a legal overtake, and then was basically pushed back. And yeah, it just seems like it's a common, agreement here that it's just an EA issue there with the safety car and whatnot. But yeah, I tell you, great. I mean, listen, a fantastic drama-filled race as per usual, fellas. And, you do have any incidents to report, you've got until 11 p.m. tomorrow night to get it submitted in the proper format. Please do. Everything will get looked at, absolutely. But still, no, I think regardless, yeah, a bit of contact here, a bit of, elbows here and there. I don't think for my standard, and again, my standard is obviously here, and like the F1 purity standard for a lot of people like you, Sergio, is probably like up here, but there was no one intentionally trying to dive bomb. There was no one intentionally trying to take people out and ruin people's races like I've seen before in a couple of other leagues or even in GP2 last season. But again, it's a tight track. It's a constricted track. You're going to have elbows come out. You're going to have some contact here and there. I think it was as good as what it could have been. And yeah, for a street circuit, for a street track, I think it's as good as what you could have only hoped for. Listen, next week, we stay in the United States, though, Sergio. We're at Vegas next week. I mean, brief cliff notes on that one. Do you expect much the same in terms of penalties and safety cars, or are we on for a more kind of open and free race, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it's going to be more of a free race. It's a track that I'm not actually that familiar with. I've not raced it many times. It's obviously pretty new to the calendar. It is a street circuit. We're going to have walls that are very close to the edge of the track as well. So again, there is that risk of overtakes being a little too much or people being a bit too aggressive could cost them. But I mean, overall, it's going to be a good race. It is a fairly fast flowing track. There's a couple of sharp corners, but it's made up of mostly straights, to be fair. It's going to be a very good race set, and I think it's going to be fairly well flowing as well.
No, great to see as well in the drivers' lounge here. A lot of congratulations from Chizzy and Shadows Gunner and Tiller there for what was just an incredible sequence for that last kind of 10 laps. Chizzy saying it was the most fun that he's had. Con saying I got dive bombed at least 7 times that race. I just don't know. We must have just missed all of the fucking action then, Sergio, because I don't recall it being overly bad whatsoever. But hey, down to the drivers to talk less and submit clips of it. That's what you can really say. You got dive bombed, send the clips in, it'll be reviewed. Listen, fantastic tonight. Thank you so much for the drivers as well. A longer one tonight because we had that sprint. Back next week at Vegas. Sergio, as always, a pleasure to have you with me side by side. 2 hours of some racing here and there on a cold Monday evening, and we'll be back in Vegas for next week. Any final words from you?
Just once again, overall fantastic racing, and thanks to all the drivers for obviously showing up. That's not a slight dig at Kieran either. That's just in general. Appreciate obviously all the drivers turn up because it means that we can do this. But yeah, looking forward to Vegas. Looking forward to a good race.
There you go. Fellas, have a good evening. We'll see you when we see you. Remember, 11 p.m. tomorrow. That's the deadline to submit any incidents to the FIA. Take care, take it easy, and we'll see you when we see you. Good night, farewell, and drive safe. There you go. That's how we'll end the F1 stream.